Hello and welcome to Churchy Chats with the Church Girl. My name is Alicia Wiley. If this is your first time here, I am the owner and creator of a Church Girl, which is a lifestyle brand and a clothing line that seeks to inspire and uplift everyone we have the privilege of connecting with. Again, tonight we have a great show for you. What I like about tonight's show, it is really going to help you in your daily life. Everybody, listen, this is not just for some people. You're going to get some information tonight that is for all people. Trust me. So take this moment, share this broadcast, tag your family, tag your friends. We are now airing on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. So feel free to view on your favorite streaming platform. Come on in the room and join the conversation. Our guest tonight is a return guest. I am so happy to have her back. We're just going to go on and get her in the room. Welcome back to Churchy Chats, First Lady.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be back.
Absolutely. Listen, she is a money mogul. She is a YouTube sensation. She is dropping knowledge every single day on her Instagram page, again on YouTube. This is somebody that you want to be connected to. So I want her to introduce herself or reintroduce herself to the Churchy Chats audience.
So hello, everyone. My name is Alaina Fingal. I am the owner of a company called The Organized Money. I help people organize their life and their money and their business. And I have a YouTube channel. It is called The Organized Money. Over there, we have over 100,000 people in the family. I also am on Instagram. We have about 35,000 over there. And every single day, I am giving out tips on Instagram. I post on YouTube twice a week. And I also do lives over there. And I am always just sharing information to help you get your life, your time, your family, your money, and your business organized. So you can definitely follow me on all of those platforms.
Yes, make sure you find her and follow her. She'll tell you again at the end for those of you who missed that part. But listen, what I love about what Alaina does is literally, y'all, and I'm not just saying this just to say it, everything that she posts is useful. You know, you can learn truly from her page and you can gain something. You know, sometimes we'll follow people because we see, you know, one or two posts, right? And then we're like, oh, yes, I think I love them. And then you're like, oh, well, those were the only two that really reached me, you know, so you're like, unfollow. But listen, what Alaina posts is so important. And I'm so thankful to have somebody, first of all, that's young, Christian. You know, in the church, we don't always talk about how to handle our money and how to focus on finances. And that's something that I think many of us lacked in our growing up and all of that good stuff. So thank you for the work that you do. And I want to jump into this episode because we have some really good stuff that I want to touch on tonight. So the first thing, we're going to start kind of with a hot topic. So I saw this some months ago, but when I saw it, I was like, I have to save this for Alaina because this is a conversation that we have to have. So it was a famous woman. I don't know if she's like a rapper, you know, but she's in entertainment. And she bought her boyfriend like a plot of land for his birthday. And, you know, people were criticizing her saying, you know, that's not the type of stuff you buy for a boyfriend because they are temporary. You know, you buy whatever. And her response was, well, at least I'm buying something that has value. You know, she was like, y'all buying, you know, cars and houses, which is fine, or purses or belts, you know, stuff like that, more material things. And she was just saying, you know, at least I'm making an important investment that whether I'm in his life or not, it's something that, you know, will add value to his life. So I want to know what you think about that, but I also want to know what you think about buying, you know, boyfriend, girlfriends, expensive gifts. Is it smart to do if this is not a long-term situation? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I have two different thoughts or concepts about this particular topic. The first one is actually in the act of giving. I know that many times when we are giving something to someone, you have to think about why you're doing this particular thing. If you are doing this, if you're doing this act of giving because you feel like y'all are going to be together forever, you're going to get married, this is going to happen, everything is going to remain the same, I would advise you not to do it. Mainly because if you are doing this, if you're doing this just because you believe y'all are going to be together forever and y'all don't, and you break up, then you're going to have a lot of resentment toward this person. You're going to hate this person. You're going to be so mad that you gave this gift. If I give a gift, it is for the act of giving, meaning that I do not expect anything in return.
Sure.
If I decide to give someone something, then it should just be for the sole act of giving, not because I expect us to be together forever. Sure. I just wanted to give this thing to you. So that being said, if you just a very, they have people who have the gift of giving.
Yes.
They're just very generous people. They just love to do it. So they'll do it. I personally would not probably do any really expensive gifts for a boyfriend because I know in my heart that if we broke up, I probably would have been highly upset. But I believe that if you are the type of person that doesn't bother you, you just want this person to be happy and you're just so excited to give, then go ahead and do it. If it makes you, like, some people love to just give. And so I'm down with that, but not if you think that y'all going to be together forever because of this gift.
And that's a good point. I think there are many different people, but I think they're mainly, kind of two people. Either it's the person that's giving because that's their heart, or somebody who is a giver because they feel like they have to give to keep people in their lives. They feel like that's the way that they buy friendship or relationships. And that's unfortunate. I just know a lot of times when even if it's a girlfriend, I might get her this beautiful Birkin bag, but then we fall out. And I'm like, I want my bag back, So I think it's important to really just give from your heart, because you can regret an inexpensive gift, if it's not from your heart. So I just thought that was interesting, because I was like, that might be something I would do, like buy somebody a plot of land, but I'm a giver, right? Yeah. So I'm like, well, whether we're together or not, whether we're still friends or not, I did that in a moment that I wanted to show you love. I wanted to do something for you. And if it adds value to your life, even if I'm no longer there, I'm grateful. So,
and that it takes a special person to be able to do that. So you got to know yourself. Know yourself.
And it doesn't always start there all the time. Sometimes you have to get there. But, for the most part, that's my feeling towards gifts. Giving gifts, So, I want to jump in on talking about credit. So, forever, well, I guess when you're a teenager, they start talking to you about credit. And when I say teenager, I mean fresh out of high school, right? That's when all of the cards come. You're a new student. It's like they, have the enrollment list. And all of a sudden, yes, and it's bananas. What they put in the hands of young people, like I alluded to earlier, most of which are not knowledgeable about credit and bank accounts and things like that. My parents, got me a bank account. I was 14, and they taught me how to write checks. And once I got to high school, they made me write my tuition check. And I was like, well, why? But it was more about responsibility and learning how to do certain things and processes, so which I appreciate. But the thing about that credit is, you spend a little money, you pay the balance, and they up your balance by like $1,000, $2,000. So then it's easy to get in over your head. Unfortunately, some people I won't just say in the black community, but some people have their credit ruined even before they're of age because
Right.
parents and relatives put things in their names.
Right.
So I was looking online and I saw this card called Extra. And the card, they said it was a debit card that allows you to build your credit. So I was like, you know what? That doesn't sound half bad. Let me get me an extra card. Now I have it, but I haven't used it because I'm like, I need to really know if this is good. So tell us, are cards like Extra or things out there to really help us build our credit? There's so much out there that sometimes it's not good for you, but in the desire to build that credit score, we just fall for every little thing. So I want you to talk about like cards like Extra and then other things out there that are good or we may need to be aware of that aren't so good for building your credit.
Yeah, whenever you are just starting out,
Mm-hmm.
especially in college, there are a lot of predatory lenders that are trying to get your attention.
Mm-hmm.
I always recommend you not to look at the cards that come in the mail because usually 9 times out of 10 they aren't good offers.
Gotcha.
Sometimes every now and then you may get one, but usually they aren't. However, cards that run like Extra or
Mm-hmm.
secured credit cards are mainly what they're
Mm-hmm.
called is the best option out there for people who are either trying to start to build their credit
Mm-hmm.
or they are trying to rebuild their credit. Maybe they
Gotcha.
had a bad season and they're just
Mm-hmm.
trying to get things back on track. Now, I have to look really into the details of Extra. The
Mm-hmm.
very best secured credit card out there that I have found is by Discover. It's
Okay.
the Discover secured credit card. You can
Mm-hmm.
get it online. It operates where you put a deposit on the card. So let's say
Mm-hmm.
you get $300 that they say is offered to you. You put $300 on the card, and then it
Okay.
operates like a credit card, and you pay
Gotcha.
off the balance every single month.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone that I have recommend that has gotten that card within 6 months, their score has shot up like
Oh wow.
100 points, 50 points, 60
Really?
points. Yes, because the way that the card works is you put $300 down, you spend a little bit on it, you pay it off every single month, and they
Mm-hmm.
continue to report to the credit bureau that
Mm-hmm.
you're paying off this balance every single month. It is designed to help you rebuild your credit. That is the
Gotcha.
sole purpose of the card. Now, after about 6 months to a year, they
Mm-hmm.
usually do offer you a regular credit card where you can just
Mm-hmm.
switch over. And the great thing about this is this helps you build your discipline. This helps you get into the habit that we need in order to pay our bills on time. It
Mm-hmm.
also helps you to build in those money routines. And money routines, I tell you, it's not really about like just how much you spend, how much you
Mm-hmm.
save, how much. It is about your consistency. It is about your routines. And if you can get good habits and good routines around your money, then
Mm-hmm.
you really can do anything when it comes down to money. You can make more, you can save more, you can invest more, you could just do way more. And when it comes down to credit, it's
Mm-hmm.
all about that longevity. It is all about the
Yes.
history, and it is all about how you're able to keep up with it. So it sounds like every is the exact same, or Extra is the exact
Mm-hmm.
same thing as like a
The
secured credit
discover.
card.
Okay.
It
Mm-hmm.
operates like a debit card, but it still reports to the credit
Mm-hmm.
bureau, which means that that's a good thing to have because it's going off of your routines and it's not trying to make a bunch of money off of you, which is the best
Gotcha.
scenario in this situation.
So let me ask you this. I saw this on Facebook or something, and it might have been Dave Ramsey. I don't know for sure.
Mhm.
But it said the worst thing that you can give a child or a person is a debit card. He was like, I never allowed my sons to have one. They still don't have one. Credit cards is what, the only thing I've allowed them, well, I mean, I'm sure they're adults now, but, allowed them to have. Is credit the way to go over debit
So
cards?
technically, Just yes, technically
Hmm.
yes. And the reason why is because credit cards offer way more protection than debit
Mm,
cards. If you've
gotcha.
ever had your debit card stolen, or
Yes.
you've had someone do some fraudulent transactions, it is crazy to try and
Ooh,
get your own money back. And
yes,
this is because you have
absolutely.
to call them, you have to report this, you have to try, and then they have to do an investigation, and they may have a
Hmm.
hold on your account, and you don't have access to your money, and you can't spend anything because you don't have a debit card anymore.
Right.
You can't get money out the ATM, so now you got to go to the bank. It is 10 times harder than
Hmm.
it is with the credit card. With a credit card, they have extra laws and extra protection on those cards. So
Hmm.
where if you call and say, "Hey, I did not make these transactions," they automatically have to revert those transactions
Hmm.
and have the money available to you. So
Gotcha.
the protection of credit cards
Hmm.
are way that, like, it's a much better system. So
Hmm.
I personally do use my credit card in order to pay for transactions, and then
Hmm.
I always pay off the balance. Now, the flip side of that is that you have to be extremely disciplined when it comes down
Yes.
to your credit cards, because your credit card has way more of available balance than your debit card might. So
Hmm.
now you just see all of this extra money and you're like, "Oh, I could go shopping now and I could spend this." And it's way easier to raise up that balance, which is
Hmm.
why a lot of people do not recommend you using your credit card like a debit card.
Hmm.
And I also don't recommend that you use it the same. I give myself, like, I know the balance that I have on my credit card, but
Hmm.
that's not my limit. My limit is the one that I set every single.
That's
So if
good.
I say this week I am only spending $200 or two hundred and
Hmm.
fifty dollars on this card,
Hmm.
that's my personal limit, and I stick to my. You have to have the discipline to stick to your own limits. So technically, yes, using credit
Hmm.
cards are better. However, if you don't feel like you have the discipline, take out cash or stick to the debit card, because I feel like it would just be easier
Hmm.
to stick to the debit card, and you know you're going to stick with, like, stay within your amount, than it is to have to pay off all of this money because you've raised up your balance.
Yes, and I definitely think it's a slippery slope.
It
And I
is.
think most people, when they think about credit cards, they think about, interest rates and stuff like that because you'll put, you know, $1. Like I've bought gum or chapstick or whatever, on my debit card where I wouldn't dream of swiping a credit card for that, because you're thinking, well, I'm gonna pay however much interest on a
Yeah.
dollar
Which
purchase.
which is another reason why it's very crucial that you're paying off that balance every month,
Mm,
right? So that you don't have interest come into play,
interest,
because
yes.
that's an extra expense that you really just don't want to have.
Yeah, and it, like you said, it takes discipline for you to, give yourself a balance that's different from the one that Visa has given you.
Yeah.
That is indeed um, discipline. I'll just say
Yeah.
that.
And
But speaking, go
another
ahead.
thing that I like to do, though, is pay off my balance before the credit card bill comes.
Okay,
So I'll pay it every single week, even though I
really?
don't have a bill, so that my balance doesn't get out of hand.
Okay, so talk to us about that. I feel like I saw you post something a while back about when you pay your bill. So
Mhm.
we know, most of us have at least one credit card. So
Yeah.
now credit cards and some bills are nice enough to ask you when you would like your billing cycle to be. You can pick any date. So usually for me, is what I did when I first sat down, with all my bills were the ones that I did not have the choice of, I put those down first and then I based it on, what made most sense at that time of the month. But if I'm paying it on the 15th, but I don't know, like when my billing cycle ends or begin, I'm just paying it on that day because that's the due date. Is that, most beneficial? Or, like you said, talk to us about it.
So there are three dates that you really need to know when it comes down to your credit card. You may have
Okay.
to call to get two of them, but there
Mhm.
are three dates. The first one is the end cycle date. The end
Mhm.
cycle date is when the credit card company is gathering up all those transactions. They're saying from this begin date to this end cycle date, this is your amount that you have spent during this
Okay.
time. The next date after that is the bill due date. So that's the
Mhm.
date that they'll say, okay, that's you owe this amount on this cycle that we have of all of these transactions.
Mhm.
And then the third date is the date that they send off your credit or they report to the credit bureau.
Okay.
So the very first one is the cycle date. That's all of the transactions. This is the date where you're adding up all of the things that you have spent,
Mhm.
and you want to pay that amount in full by the bill due date. Now, I like to do it before the bill due date, at least
Mhm.
2 or 3 days before, because sometimes if you do it a little too close, they may still hit you with the interest. So you want to
Mhm.
try and do it. If you do it at least 2 days before, usually you are good.
Okay.
So you take that end cycle date, you look at those transactions, you pay that amount in full before the bill due date. Now, that third date is
Mhm.
the date that you really need to know because it's the date that they report to the credit bureau. What
Yes.
I was telling, what I was talking about in that post is
Mhm.
many times we will pay all of the amount that's due for that particular those transactions. We'll pay it by the bill due date, but we're still spending on the card. And there is
Okay.
usually like a 3 day lag
Uh-huh.
between your bill due date and the date that they report to the credit bureau. If you
Okay.
still spend on your card between that time, they will
Mhm.
report the new transactions to the credit bureau. And
Mm.
it could, depending on what's your overall credit score goal, it could hurt you or help you depending on how close you are to your limit, depending on if
Mhm.
you're paying off in full. Now, if you pay off in full, this really doesn't matter because you paid it off in full. But if
Sure.
you are close to being over 30% of your limit,
Mhm.
or when you spend, you are over 30% of your overall limit, then this will hurt your score because they're
Mhm.
reporting that you're spending way
Usage.
more,
Yes.
even though you just paid your bill and you're paying it on time.
Wow.
So whenever you are working with your credit card, know those
Mhm.
three dates. You want to know the bill date, the cycle end date, the bill date, and the date that they report. And once you find out those dates, then you make sure that you aren't spending too much in
Mhm.
between your bill date and the cycle report date.
Whew, that's good to know.
And
Because, like I said, you get really, I think one date most
yeah,
people have in their minds, and that's the due date. And
right.
if they're anything like me, I schedule my bills. So I
Yep.
can't tell you the last time that I really looked at them in great detail because, which I know is not a great habit, but you get used to that automated stuff and it just happens, but you really need to keep an eye on your finances, especially if you are trying to budget, if you're trying to come up with a plan and a system. And we know that you use planners and, you talk about, you use and sell. Let me say that she sells
Yeah.
them too, planners. And you all talk about how helpful they are with just organizing your life. You're a wife, you're a mom, you are working on a new venture, but you just have a lot going on. So can you talk to us about not just about how planners help you just in general, but if you're trying to keep a budget, how can a planner help you stay in line with the budget?
So I cannot live without my budget planner. I promise you. I love, love, love plan. Well, I love planners all in all. And if you
Mm-hmm.
are the type of person that loves to write things down, I always recommend planners. I know that there are some people, like my husband, he likes to have
Mm-hmm.
a digital system.
Okay.
He'll always have all the apps.
Mm-hmm.
I have never been that type of person. I
Me neither.
love the feel of paper. I love notebooks.
I do
I love
too.
planners. I just like to write everything down.
Mm-hmm.
So, the first thing that planners will really help you out with is remembering things. They create this system where when you write something down, it is scientifically proven that when you write
Mm-hmm.
something down, you are 5 times more likely to remember that thing that you wrote down
Mm-hmm.
rather than if you typed it out. So that's one thing, is the art or the act of actually writing things down, and it helps you develop a system. So
Mm-hmm.
with my planner, it's one book. It is one solid
Okay.
book. I actually have it right here, but it's one book that really helps me to organize my entire life. And
Mm-hmm.
I take my life and I look at it in categories. So
Okay.
I have a category for my home, and a
Mm-hmm.
category for my money, and a category for my business, and I have, different categories. Even for my faith, I have
Mm-hmm.
different things that I'll divide up. So if I have all 5 of these categories, and I have 5 sections in my planner, and
Mm-hmm.
basically every single morning I'm flipping through each section to see what's important to me right now, today,
Mm-hmm.
for this particular category of my life. So it helps
Absolutely.
me to not always be constantly thinking on the go. It helps me to think ahead.
Whew.
So I
Yes.
am sitting down saying, okay, what do we need to do for the house today? What chores
Mm-hmm.
need to be done? What needs to be done for my girls today? What homework do they have? What needs to be done in my
Mm-hmm.
business today? What posts do I need to post on social media? And for my money, especially, what bills do I need to pay? If I did spend on my card yesterday, what did I
Mm-hmm.
spend my money on yesterday? And this process takes me about 5 minutes. I'm looking at my bank
Wow.
transactions, and then I'm, because I mean, if I spent on my card 3 or 4 times, I
Uh-huh.
just take about 5 minutes to look and see and categorize those transactions. Okay,
Wow.
I went
Okay.
shopping. I did a
Mm-hmm.
little bit. I got some food, so I can put shopping. I can put food. All right, how much did I say I was going to spend this week? I was
Mm-hmm.
only supposed to spend $100 on food this week. I have spent 50. I have $50 left. It is
Mm-hmm.
a quick process to kind of just let myself know and rebalance myself, and so that I am aware of all of the categories, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm aware of how much I have left on my budget, or I'm aware of what I need to do in different areas of my life, for my family, for the church, or for my business. It is a system that really just helps you to write everything down and be able to stay on top of your to-dos and what's going on in every area of your life. So nothing sideswipes you,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, oh my goodness, I
Yes.
forgot all about that. Now I gotta
Yes.
hurry up and do this and do that. And it really does help me out so much, even with events like, oh, this
Mm-hmm.
baby shower is coming up. Someone's birthday is coming up. I want to make sure that I send this off for this person. And it makes it seem like, oh, wow, you're so attentive to these things. But
Mm-hmm.
it's just taking a few moments every single day to look at all of the areas and everything that's important to you.
And that's good. And I was thinking about it. I was like, I'm gonna have to ask Elena for some tips because I am that person. I have notebooks. I have to do books. I have it all, right? Because like you, I like to write. But girl, they all empty. And I'm like, I know that it's, something that you have to make a habit. So tell us, how can you discipline yourself? How do you get yourself started without, first of all, feeling overwhelmed? Like, you said you had your 5 categories. I would, or, however many categories. I would love to do that. But I think I would get overwhelmed at the thought of having to do it all at one time. Although I'm this type of person. Like in high school or college, whatever, um, everything had to be aesthetically pleasing, right? So if I had a purple and pink notebook, I would only write in purple and pink in that notebook, and the folder had to match, and everything, my notes were underlined and arrows and dots. So I'm very organized when it comes to studying and things like that, because if it's not aesthetically pleasing, I don't want anything to do with this. So, how do I get started and stick with the whole planner thing? Please help me.
So I usually tell people to start with one.
Okay.
Don't start with all, because a lot of times when we start with the whole thing, it's
Mm-hmm.
overwhelming. It's too much. I can't do it. But I do like to start with just your life planner, and you can
Okay.
put all of these categories really can go into one if that fits your life the most.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, I have like with the very first planner that I have, which is an hourly planner, I can put like a lot of different things in here. It's just
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I like to break it down into even more detail, which is why I have the other sections. But
Sure.
I usually tell people to start with one because if you need another one,
Mm-hmm.
you'll feel it. Like you'll not, I need somewhere else to
Gotcha.
write this down. And so
Mm-hmm.
you can always add on, but if you start with the whole thing, it's hard to
Mm-hmm.
subtract. So I like to just start with one so then
Mm-hmm.
that way you aren't overwhelmed. That's the very first thing. The
Okay.
second thing is that usually what ends up happening is that we're writing things down throughout the
Mm-hmm.
course of the day, but because we want everything to be aesthetically pleasing all the time, we don't write in our planners.
Right.
We will grab an envelope and write on the back of
Mm-hmm.
that. We'll grab a sticky note and write on that because I don't want to write in my planner because I'm going to mess
Right.
it up. But the
Yes.
point of the planner is to use it. I say this all the time, and I tell this to my membership group. I'll say,
Uh-huh.
guys, remember, having a messy planner is way better than having a blank one. It's so much better to have a
You're
messy
so
planner.
right.
I would rather you have a messy
Mm-hmm.
planner than a blank one because if
Yeah.
it's blank, you're not using it. It's not
Right.
helping your life. So I know I show mine all the time, and I'll even show it
Mm-hmm.
right now. I show my planner. This is my planner. I show it all the time. And people be like, no, it looks so nice. And I'm like, to me, it doesn't look like aesthetically pleasing,
Gotcha.
but when you use it, it always is aesthetically pleasing to someone because it's written down and it's
Right.
used and you're actually planning the different things of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're never going to like open your planner and be like, oh, it's so pretty. And if you
Right.
do, you're probably not using it correctly. So I always say use it. And when
Mm-hmm.
you are looking for a sheet of paper or something to write on, the goal is to write in your
In
planner.
your planner.
To put it in your planner. And if you have a
Mm-hmm.
sticky note, put that sticky note right in your
Yeah.
planner. And that way you get into the habit of actually writing things down and
Mm-hmm.
actually using it.
Gotcha.
Because usually we just don't because we have that barrier between making it pretty and actually using it.
Mm-hmm.
Get rid of the pretty. Just use it.
Okay.
Just use
That's the first thing.
it. As the first thing, use it. We want you to use it as much as possible. So start with one
Mm-hmm.
and use it and write in it and put note paper in it and put sticky
Mm-hmm.
notes in it. And then over time, you'll see that, okay, I'm actually getting into the habit. I like to
Mm-hmm.
spend 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes in the evening just reviewing
Okay.
my planner and just making sure that I have everything. Because a lot of people feel like it's going to
Mm-hmm.
take a lot of time. It does not take a lot
Yes.
of time. It will not take, just set
That's
aside
another thing.
5 minutes. So 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the
Mm-hmm.
evening. In the evening, you're just looking at the very next day. In the morning, you're looking at what you have to do today. That's it. You're done.
That you're done. So let me ask you this, Elena. When do you, or should I say, how often do you plan out? Meaning, do you plan out day to day, week to week, month to month? How often do you really have to sit down and write everything down? I know you should be using it, as things come up. But for those things that you kind of know, that's going to happen, how early do you put those in?
So every single week on a Sunday,
Hmm.
usually around like 3:30, is when I will plan out my week. I plan out
Okay.
my week every single Sunday, and I'm usually planning from Monday to the very next Sunday. That might take
Okay.
me about 30 minutes, 45 minutes as I'm
Oh,
looking
that's not
throughout
bad.
my entire week. The
Mhm.
next thing that I'll do is every single morning, because things change, like around
Yeah.
7:30 in the morning while I'm having my
Mhm.
coffee, right after the girls go off to school, is when I will plan my day. And I'm looking at
Okay.
what I put down on Sunday, and I'm saying, okay, is all of this going to happen on Monday?
Mhm.
And I might add a couple things. I might have to move things around. That happens at like 7:30 in the morning. And this, once again, might take me 5 minutes to just look at my
Mhm.
to-dos and like just think about my day. Then every single like the last Friday of the month is when I will plan
Mhm.
the next month. So
Okay.
Sundays, I'm planning the week. On every single day in the morning, I'll plan my day. In the evening, I'll just
Mhm.
kind of look at the very next day. But usually in the morning is when I plan and look at the current day. And then the last Friday of the month, I'm planning the next month. And then the same thing around the last Friday of the quarter, I will look
Mhm.
at the very next quarter and think about my goals, think about what I wanted to do for the quarter. For each one of my planners, I do like to keep a quarter in there. So
Mhm.
I always have, the current quarter that I'm working on. So I always have to switch out my planner. So whenever I'm switching out the next month or the next quarter, then I
Mhm.
know it's time to plan for the next quarter. And I will do that usually at the end of like the last Friday of every quarter. And then
Mhm.
each year I'll do it in December. So I take a
Okay.
lot of time to plan
Mhm.
out the next year. So
Mhm.
usually I will take a couple of weeks, maybe about 2 weeks in
Mhm.
December, and really try and think about what I want to accomplish in the next year and how I want my planner system to work for me. And I've been doing this, since maybe 2017, and it has
Wow.
really helped me with my goals, with my
Mhm.
business, with my home life, family, every area that I wanted to focus on. Planning it out and really trying to think about what I want to do next has really helped me overall.
Yeah, and listen, I am not letting another year go and come without me, organizing my life. I think it was a post that you had the other day, and it was like, my whole life is in this one place.
Hmm.
And this is what I don't like about digital planners is, even if I have like a calendar, I feel like I'm going to 100 different places still to see, okay, well, what is this over here? And then what is this over here? Okay, well, I have this doctor's appointment. Yes, it's digital, but it's everywhere. And like I said, I'm like you. I like paper. I like notebooks and all of that stuff. And I was like, Lord, how much easier would my life be if I just had it all in one place? So I am going to get with you. I'm going to let you help me get my entire life together because it's so important. And I want to start budgeting and I want to start, just being more mindful of how I spend my time,
Yeah.
and I don't know if you carry it with you. I was going to ask you how important is it to have it close to you, during the day? Like, how do you maybe snap a picture, if you're going to be running errands? How do you reference it? Do you keep it with you or what do you do?
So for the most part, it depends on where I'm going.
Mhm.
If I am traveling a lot, meaning
Mhm.
that like maybe I just have a bunch of errands to do, I may not take the entire book with me. But the
Okay.
great thing about my system is it
Uh-huh.
is a disc-bound system. So if you've
Mhm.
never heard of the disc-bound system, it's where you can pull papers out of the actual book.
Mm.
So I usually will keep, like, as you can see, I have a little half sheet here. It's an insert
Yes.
sheet, and then I can take this out, right?
Oh, cool.
So I can take it out and I can take it with me. And then
Mhm.
I can come back, I can check everything off on this list, and then I can put it back in
Cool.
because that's the way the discs work. They work to
Mhm.
where you can take papers off. Sometimes if I'm going to like meetings, like business
Mhm.
meetings, I will take the entire book with me because
Gotcha.
I know I'm going to want to take a lot of notes and I might
Mhm.
need to reference dates. And I want the actual book with me. But if I'm just on the go and I'm running errands, I may just take a sheet out of the planner and then just take that sheet, put it back in after I am done. But I do love having, like I said, my entire life in one book
Mm-hmm.
because first, I'm able to easily get in access to any area of my life. The second thing that I really love about it is that it is a great memory book. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing this since 2017, and it's wonderful to be able to look back on my planners and see
Yes.
how far I've come. Like, man,
Sure.
I accomplished this, and I was able to
Mm-hmm.
do that, and look how big my girls got because I have put
Yeah.
pictures in my planners, and we have had memories, and it's just such a great thing, and that's something that you
Mm-hmm.
don't get with digital. I feel like a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times you just feel like you're always on to the next goal and you're always trying to achieve
Yes.
something. But it's wonderful to have a place where you can look back and just be grateful for how far you've actually come. Yes, you have goals. Yes, you have things you have trying to achieve. But
Mm-hmm.
man, look how much we've done
Yes.
in such a short period of time. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I love planners.
Yeah, and listen, y'all. Like at the end, I'm gonna make sure she tells you where you can get everything from, and I'm going to get stuff so I can start getting my life together. So I know I'm referencing a lot of her posts, but that's what I told y'all. I told y'all in the beginning that I'm telling y'all it's a wealth of knowledge. It's a wealth of knowledge. So if you're watching this and you know someone who could benefit from this, if it's the replay, whatever, make sure you share this so we can all get our lives together. It seems like last season you were on in November as well. So it looks like, this is kind of your time to be on, but we'll talk a little bit more about how you'll be on in the upcoming seasons. But it's a good time, end of the year. I know a lot of us get overwhelmed with the holidays, not just with budgets, but with our schedules, right? We try to figure everything out. Many of us don't have altered work schedules. I work at a church, so, it's not quite as, strict. And I thank God for that. But, many of us adding on holiday events and holiday parties and money budgets, all of that stuff is really a burden for people. So I think this is a great time of the year to think about these things and to start to plan for your next year. So the next holiday season won't be a mess for you. But
Right.
talk to us. I saw again one of your posts about your cash envelope wallet system. What is this system and how does it work? And when do I need to start mine?
So a cash envelope system is perfect for things that aren't always in your budget. So if you think
Okay.
about it, we always have a budget where we have our bills that are coming out. We have the fixed things that we have to spend our money on. And then we have like food and shopping and all of these
Hmm.
other random little things that are like variable expenses. But there are certain expenses that come up that we don't normally always have them, so
Hmm.
we may not plan for them. Things like car maintenance, right? So car maintenance
Girl,
can hit
yes.
you out the blue. Your house can need repair all of a sudden,
Hmm.
appliances break. Christmas is like, oh, well, I don't plan for that every month. It's not every single month, but it is the exact same day
Hmm.
of the year.
Every
So we
year.
know birthdays and anniversaries, these are
Hmm.
things that come up that can really mess up our budget, throw our budget completely off because, when you have Thanksgiving and Halloween and Christmas and all of these different holidays, they come at the exact same time of the year, but you may not plan for them because you're not
Hmm.
thinking of them throughout the course of
Right.
the year. You think about them in October, November, and December.
Yes.
So what the cash envelope system does is you usually will set it up at the beginning of the year. And
Hmm.
this is where you think about an amount that you may need at the end of the year. So if I say, okay,
Gotcha.
I want to save $500 by the time
Hmm.
December comes for Christmas. And with the cash envelope system, you take an envelope, you'll put, Christmas on the label of that
Hmm.
envelope. And then every time you get paid, maybe you put $10, maybe you put $15, maybe you put $25 in there every single time that you get paid. And by the end of the year, you'll have this lump sum of money to use for Christmas. If you set aside $10 or $15 every time
Hmm.
you get paid, then by the time your car maintenance comes up, you will have a little bit of extra. And here's the thing,
Mm-hmm.
you may not have the entire amount. If your car
Mm-hmm.
maintenance is $1,000 and let's say you got $500 in this envelope, you may not be able to pay the entire thing, but you can
Sure.
put a nice little chunk in it, right?
Yes.
You don't have to come up with the entire balance. At least you
Mm-hmm.
have $500 in this envelope. And that's the goal of the cash envelope system. It is
Mm-hmm.
so that you can set aside little amounts of money for things that you normally don't think about at all. And so the
Mm-hmm.
way that I do it is I might take out $100 every single time I get paid, and
Mm-hmm.
then I'll divide it up and put it in each one of my envelopes. I might put $20 in my Christmas envelope, $20 in my anniversary envelope, $15 in my car maintenance, and I'll
Mm-hmm.
split up the $100 into all of these little envelopes. And now I have $100 set aside, and then by the end of the
Mm-hmm.
year, depending on how often I'm doing this, if I do it $100 a month for 12 months, $1,200, that is set aside in these envelopes. That's extra that I can use
Yes.
for anything that's coming up.
Now, for people who, it's hard for them to keep their hand out of the piggy bank. It's like they're super proud of themselves. And I'm pretty good with cash because, listen, if you give me $20 cash, I can hold on to it for 6 months. Cash is different. I don't like to see that cash leaving my wallet, but I know for some of us, just knowing that it's there, like the old people used to say, that money is burning your pockets. So for people who really don't have a problem with saving, but have a problem with knowing they have a stash in the house, how can people like that utilize the cash envelope system?
So I would recommend that you don't do it in cash, but
Hmm.
you threw it through another system. So I have used an app. I don't know if you've heard of Digit, you've heard of Capital.
Yes.
You can do it definitely that way,
Hmm.
where you set digital envelopes. This is for us who cash burns in your pocket. And to be honest,
Yes.
I kind of go back and forth.
Okay.
For a season, I was
Hmm.
doing all cash. Currently, I kind of switch it up and I'll do digital from time to time. And this is just because when me and my husband are traveling a lot, sometimes I just don't have time to get to the bank. So if I
Sure.
don't have time to get to the bank and divide up all of the cash,
Hmm.
I'll just say, okay, this month I'm just going to do it digital, and I'll move the money myself into one of those digital apps, or I might move it into a bank account that is separate from my own. But you
Okay.
want to have it to where it's a system where you can't easily touch it.
Hmm.
So then that way you won't quickly move it back. Like if it's in an app like Digit, then you have to constantly think to yourself to move that money back and
Hmm.
then wait about 2 days before you can
Yes.
move it. So
Yes.
it usually you'll be like, oh, I'm not about to do that. I'm not going to
Hmm.
move it. So
Right.
it's much easier for those of us that struggle with cash to
Hmm.
do it that way. If you love cash, then do the cash envelope system.
So everybody has a way that they
Everybody
can
has
do
a system.
this. Yes. And I'm going to ask one more question before we ask the last question and wrap up. Um, I saw this just yesterday, and this is a question that I seem to ask, and I don't know if I ever really remember the answer. I think I do, but for those out there, most people struggle between, do I save or do I pay my debt? Now, I am one to do both, but I know there was a time, and still now, if I get an extra sum, I will more likely, well, now I'll more likely save it. But before, I was that person that would be like, oh, you giving me $1,000 for my birthday? Well, I'm gonna pay my bills down, because that's just gonna be easier. But now I'm more like, well, the bills are on the system. They'll be paid out in due time. I'm gonna save. So I guess it depends. I go back and forth. But what is your advice on it? Do we pay or do we save?
So first, it depends on how much you have in savings. If you do
Mm-hmm.
not have anything in savings, I say save. So the
Mm-hmm.
very first thing that you want to do is have a nice chunk of money that you can pull from.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's number is completely different. You know, it depends on your situation. I have a video called "How Much Should You Have in Your Emergency Fund?"
Mm-hmm.
And in this video, I tell you the different types of things that you need to think about and how much you should add. Add $100 for every single person that's in your family. Add $100 if you have a pet. If only one person has
That's good.
one job, I want you to
Mm-hmm.
add $500 if they are the only person that's supporting this household. If
Sure.
you have a sick parent or someone is in the house is sick, then you're going
Mm-hmm.
to add $500 for this. And once you
That's
go through
good.
all of those questions, I want to say it's
Mm-hmm.
about 10 questions, but literally I'm telling you different situations
Mm-hmm.
that you need to think about and how much to add for that situation. So when I did this exact process, my number was 5,000. It was actually 4,900. We just
Mm-hmm.
added on the extra $100
Sure.
and made our number 5,000. That
Okay.
was the number that I wanted to have in our emergency fund before we started paying down debt,
Mm.
because I talk about if your house is older than 10 years old, you need to add
Mm-hmm.
money into your emergency fund for
Facts.
that, because things come up with the house. I had things in there about your car. If your car is
Mm-hmm.
older and it's over, I think 3 or 5 years old, add in numbers for that. Because
Oh yeah.
if we want to prepare for all of those things, and then you have this number to where, okay, with ours, it was 5,000. If
Mm-hmm.
anything comes up, it shouldn't exceed $5,000. On average, it's
Gotcha.
probably not going to. Now,
Mm-hmm.
your number might be lower if you're single, if you don't have a pet, if your car is
Sure.
brand new, your number is going to
Mm-hmm.
be lower. And if it's $2,000, then that's how much you save. Once you have that number,
Mm-hmm.
and that number is in savings, now you can start paying down debt
That's
because
good.
you have something to pull from.
Mm-hmm.
And if something else happens, but the worst thing that could happen is you're paying down a whole bunch of debt, you have no money saved, something crazy happens in your life, and now you have to use your credit card, right?
Right. Now you're back in debt.
Now you're back in debt, and it
Yes.
creates this cycle. So there's a video on YouTube if you're
Mm-hmm.
interested how to save or how to create a starter emergency fund, because
Mm-hmm.
we know the fully funded emergency fund is 36 months of savings, but before you
Wow.
get to that point, you want to have that starter amount, that amount
Mm-hmm.
that you may need just to get yourself started, and that video will walk you through all of the steps and how much you should save.
Now that's good. So last question as it relates to this. So while you're, saving that amount, that safety amount, how much are you paying on your debt? Are you paying a minimum balance? Are you paying just above a minimum balance? How are you dealing with your debt while you're also saving?
So if you have an excessive amount of disposable income, meaning
Mm-hmm.
that let's say you get an extra $1,000 above your bills, then I would
Mm-hmm.
say do both. Do both. Set aside the money in
Gotcha.
this emergency account
Mm-hmm.
and pay down. But if you have only a limited amount left, meaning that there's not that much wiggle room,
Mm-hmm.
save. Stay, prioritize the saving and then work on debt later. Just pay your minimum payments, your minimum balance, and work on everything else. I know that people want to get down to interest rate.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually their top priority, but it's better to have that money in savings first, just in case, because life happens,
Right.
and then worry about that later.
Yes, that's really, really good advice. And again, a post that I saw on your page about a book that you had recently read, and you said the best thing that you got from this book was a 2 minute rule. So talk to us. What is the 2 minute rule, and how did it change your life?
So this came into play when the 2 minute rule is basically from David Allen's book called Getting Things Done. And it
Mm-hmm.
basically says if something takes 2 minutes or less,
Mm-hmm.
it is you should do it in the moment that you think of it. And let me tell you why this changed my life. Because a lot of times I would think of something that I needed to do and I would
Mm-hmm.
immediately add it to my planner. And I had this really
Gotcha.
long astronomical list of all of these
Right.
different things that I was going to do. And then I didn't get them all done because I was so
Mm-hmm.
overwhelmed because it
Sure.
was so many things. But with the 2 minute rule, I would
Mm-hmm.
stop and think for a moment. Okay, I need to send this text to this person. Does that take 2 minutes or less? Yeah, that takes me like a
Mm-hmm.
minute. And I would just pick up
Right.
my phone and do it. I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
add it to my planner. I just did it. Do I need to hurry up and send this email? And I just did it. Oh, hurry up and pick up these clothes really quick. And
Mm-hmm.
because it takes under 2 minutes, I realized that it knocked things off of my to-do list much, much, much faster because I just immediately did it instead of
Yes.
me thinking about all of the things that I needed to do. So I
Mm-hmm.
was naturally overwhelming myself with this really long list, but
Mm-hmm.
half of the stuff that was on that list could have been done really, really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So take 2 minutes and think about what you're about to add to your list or what you have to do. And what you'll realize is that a lot of those really quick things, you could just get them out of the way right now. The rule changed my life because it soared my productivity. I was able
Mm-hmm.
to focus in on the things that took a long time and
Mm-hmm.
really focus on those. But those 2 minute things, I just quickly get them out of the way in the morning or the evening.
And that's so good because the older I get, I find that I forget things so quickly. And like I can literally think of something, go to reach for my phone, and by the time I open my phone up, I don't know what and I'm
Yeah.
working on that because I'm like, you're not that forgetful, but I know what happens. You open your phone up and here are all these apps, here are all these things to distract you, right?
Now,
So
let me tell
go
you
ahead,
about that though. Let me tell you
help
about that
me.
because that just triggered me. That used to happen to me all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Usually when that happens, that means that we are overwhelmed in our mind. We have a lot of things going
Mm,
on. We have a lot of thoughts up there.
that makes
Do
sense.
a brain dump. If you ever feel like, man, I just forgot
Mm-hmm.
something, like you picked up something, you walked into a room and instantly
Yes.
you forgot why you walked in. Sit down, take
Mm-hmm.
about 5 minutes and do
Mm-hmm.
a complete brain dump because our mind is
Mm-hmm.
jumping from topic to topic. And when it jumps from topic to topic and you're always thinking, you can't think clearly. And
Yes.
so that's what usually happens when we start to forget things
Mm-hmm.
because your mind can only hold on to 7 pieces of information at one time.
7.
Your mind does not
Wow.
store information, it processes. So your mind is
Right.
constantly processing. It does not store information, which means that you can only store 7 pieces of
Wow.
information. By the time you get that eighth thing, you've forgotten something else.
Mm.
So doing a brain dump and just writing everything that comes to your mind on a sheet of
Mm-hmm.
paper will help you clear your head and it will help you with remembering
Whew.
things.
I need to do that. So
Yeah.
it's just like a brainstorm kind of. You just
Yeah.
write everything down.
Brainstorm it.
Who? Because I'm gonna start doing. I'm like, I know
Yeah.
I'm not that old. I mean, I'm
No.
aging, but and it would bother me because I'm like, you
Yeah.
usually have better focus than this.
Exactly.
You can usually keep your mind a little more together and in line, but it's just happening way too often. So I'm glad I brought that up because
Yeah.
I'm gonna start doing that for sure. So before I have you, to tell everybody where they can find you again and, how they can use your services and stuff like that, I just want to kind of make a small announcement. I'll tell you, I text Alaina a while ago and I was like, listen, I need you to be like Churchy Chats Dr. Phil for money. So I want her to be our resident money guru, planner guru, organizer guru, and she's so graciously accepted, although she has, y'all, her plate is super full, but she has so graciously accepted. So I want to thank her publicly for being a part of the Churchy Chats team. And I think this is just so important. We take time for everything else. And those times that we are overwhelmed, sometimes it's just the smallest thing that can help us and get us back on track. So I'm excited that you'll be seeing more of Alaina on Churchy Chats to help you with productivity, to help you with budgeting, spiritually. Listen, she has all the goods. So she will be back a lot more often on next season of Churchy Chats. And I'm excited about that. Thank you so much, Alaina. I appreciate you accepting that invitation.
Thank you so much. I'm excited. I can't
I
wait.
am too. Okay, so tell people. I know you mentioned your YouTube and all of that, but tell us your website, how you work with people, where we can buy your products. I mean, everything that we need to know about finding you. Tell us.
So my website is theorganizedmoney.com. So you can definitely find me over there where you could just find out more about what I do. I'm also on YouTube, The Organized Money. I have an Etsy shop and we just launched on Friday the
Yay!
2022 budget planner. So if you want to just look at the budget planner and see what it's all about and look and see what it looks like in the inside and the different parts of it, I posted a video on my YouTube channel. I also posted a video on my Instagram, The Organized Money. You can get an inside look at that. And of course, I always do classes. I do a free class every single Monday on YouTube Live where
Wonderful.
I am helping you with some type of life, money, business organization. So you can definitely check me out every single Monday over there, 4 p.m. Central. And I jump on live for 1 hour. It's an absolutely free class. So you get all of the goods there as well, along with videos on Wednesday and Friday. So please find me. Please jump in the conversation. Please, communicate, send me an email, whatever the case may be. I love, love, love talking about organization. I can do it all day. So please join in with us.
That is so wonderful. And I'm so grateful for just the work that you do, for the kingdom and, to have someone who is committed to helping people really to transform in their lives.
Yeah.
We know in church we talk about a lot and we know how important prayer and deliverance and all of these things are, but majority of the time we don't take it to the next place to
Yeah.
truly transform our lives. So
Yeah.
that is the work that you are doing and I'm so grateful for it. And before we get off, go on and tell the Churchy Chats audience about Empower Church.
Yeah, so me and my husband are launching Empowerment Church in January of
Yes.
2022. And I'm so excited about it because we are going to be in Marrero, Louisiana, which is like
Mhm.
15, 20 minutes out from New Orleans. But we are just really excited about helping the community. We had a trunk or treat event. We've been doing different events out here to bring, just another life-giving church to the
Mhm.
community. So that's the work. And, it's been a lot. Like I was telling you earlier, like the organization and the balance that we have had to create
Mhm.
during this process has been astronomical, but it has
Mhm.
been so wonderful and it's been just so much to us and meant so much to us. So we are really, really excited about it. Through the Organized Money, I am able to help people gain peace in their life,
Mhm.
that, to reduce stress and to gain a lot of peace in what they're doing in their life. And through our church, we are helping people, get the potential and gain the potential and really learn about their overall purpose. That is our goal there. So I'm helping them with peace. Over there, we're helping them with their purpose. And together, we're just really excited about what God is doing.
That is so wonderful. Um, it's just it's just good stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm grateful to be connected to you too. I'm grateful for all that God is doing in your lives. And I pray that He just continues to bless you bountifully and you don't want for anything. Your household is covered. I mean, everything that God has for you exceeding abundantly above and all of that, because you all deserve it and you have
Thank
put
you.
your time in the kingdom. So thank you. Thank you for that. And like I said, Alaina will be back. So be looking out for her on, future episodes of Churchy Chats. But thank you so much for coming on tonight, Alaina. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, this is the final episode of season 3 of Churchy Chats. I really wanted to leave you with something that would help you, something that you can come back and reference, through the holidays and even in the beginning of the year as you try to get your life together. This season was unexpected in that it started 2 weeks late, thanks to Hurricane Ida. And, things were rough for a minute. This year has been full of unexpected grief. It has been full of just life, right? But I am so grateful for you. I am so grateful for this platform that God has so graciously afforded me to sit on and to use my voice to help people and to tell very important testimonies and stories. And I'm already thinking about season 4. I already have guests lined up. I just wanted to take a moment and let you know how much I truly appreciate you and your support. Enjoy this holiday season. Enjoy your new year. Be safe, blessed, prosperous, and we will see you next season on Churchy Chats with the Church Girl. Until next time, stay churchy, folks. Good night.